Cocoon, but are you nuts? Don't let her lie to you. She's trying to lie to you. Good morning, everyone. This is Financial Literacy 101. Now, today we're going to try to define what industry pays more money. Is it white collar or blue collar? And we have to look into the analytics and statistics of both working fields, because some jobs like teachers, teachers are actually a white collar job, but we know that teachers do not get paid what we typically know as a white collar pay, that 80 grand and above. And you guys may be in the wrong industry. You might want to look into blue collar jobs, because blue collar workers refers to workers who engage in hard manual labor, typically agriculture, manufacturing, construction, mining, and or maintenance, plumber, electrician. Some of those are considered like blue collar jobs, but some of them don't work as hard as you think. When you have residential electricians, residential plumbers, they don't work as hard and do as heavy lifting and as dirty as a commercial electrician and commercial plumber. But in contrast, white collar is associated with white button-down shirts with ties and suits, and business suits for ladies, etc. And again, have you ever looked into red collar jobs? A lot of times you don't hear people really talking about red collar jobs, because red collar jobs are government workers of all types. Government workers of all types are considered red collar jobs. But in this day and age, we look at it a lot like white collar jobs, but they're essentially red collar jobs. And they derive from compensation received from the red ink budget of the government, essentially, okay? So we're going to try to define what blue collar workers and red collar workers, because all of us strive to be a white collar worker. But ladies and gentlemen, not all people make that much money being a white collar job. And we're going to get into it right after this. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Miss Curly Girl. Thank you for moderating today. Good morning, Shina. Let's see what we have going on here. Yes. I'm gonna put the link inside the chat. Now, ladies and gentlemen, already I want to apologize. My Wi-Fi is out. I'm using my phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot. So if you see some time delays, don't turn off. I'm doing the best that I can with the tools that I have. Okay. So let's get into the different segments, because the difference between white collar and blue collar, because we know that white collar jobs typically offer salary based on overall performance in that particular position, right? Usually white collar workers are required to work a minimum number of hours to be paid based upon that salary. However, they can work, and I know this for sure, been in the military, working for Amazon, being on salary, you can work beyond those hours without earning additional wages. You can work. So my work day at Amazon was considered to be 10 hours. I was working 12 to 13 hours per day, 4 days a week. And when it came to the military, I mean, most military days, and any military person can tell you this, it's at least 14 hours, right? You getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You have to be in to work at 6:30 to do organized PT, what they call it. And then sometimes you stay way after 5 p.m. of a typical work day. So these so-called salary-based white-collar jobs, and we look at the military, I know, we look at the military as a blue-collar job. So that's an exception of the rule. But when it comes to Amazon, Amazon has blue-collar and white-collar. But those who are working white-collar essentially are not working for the amount of salary that they're getting. They're probably doing a lot more, especially at organizations that are large and who are worth billions of dollars like Amazon. Because essentially, if they were paying the people the amount of money of the time that he actually input inside of it, though everybody be walking out at $250,000. But no, yeah, they pay people six figures, but not according to the amount of work that they put in. But we need to look at in contrast when it comes to blue collar jobs, because blue collar jobs are often wage based, meaning that workers are compensated based on the number of hours worked, And when it comes to just using, for example, electricians and plumbers, a lot of times you can be a one-man company when it comes to a plumber. You can be a one-man company when it comes to electrician, especially residential, because you're going to have all the tools at your disposal. It's not going to be a lot of heavy lifting. You may have to change out a sink that was copper or metal based and put it in with PVC pipe. That doesn't take two men. There's very few jobs when it comes to plumbing, unless you have to turn off a main valve while I do this valve. That may take two people. But a lot of these plumbers and electricians that are your traditional blue collar jobs and or construction workers, either be small construction jobs or large construction jobs. These consider your blue collar jobs, but they're wage based, and most of them are based upon hourly. Now, you will get an electrician, you will get a plumber that will say, hey, I don't do by the hour, I do depending on the project, because a lot of these men and women are experienced in these fields, so they can give you a price point. They can kind of, oh, it's going to take me a couple hours. Okay, well, $250 to do that particular job. But some blue collar jobs reimbursed modules are based on project completion. And here's the thing. Most white collar jobs that you guys are getting paying salary on, you may or may not get bonuses every year. You may or may not can use your PTO to be paid off. But when you work hourly, 9 times out of 10, if you work over the amount of hours allotted, that 40-hour block, you're getting paid time and a half and sometimes even double time. Now, white collar jobs have a reputation for being higher paying than blue collar jobs. That is the history, right? White collar jobs have a reputation of being higher paying jobs than blue collar jobs. However, a skilled blue collar worker can often make more in wages, more in money, more in their paycheck than a mid-level white collar job. And of course, this depends on a variety of factors, including the skill level required to perform the work, each worker level of experience, and how many hours a blue collar worker puts in. So take, for instance, you are a mid-level white collar worker and you're getting paid $65,000. Take, for instance, someone like myself. I go in to be an electrician, right? And I think to be a full electrician, you got to go through all these apprentice stages. So essentially, you'll make more money. You'll make more money right off the bat than I would. You will make more money right off the bat than I would. But once I become a full-fledged electrician and I can essentially start my own business, or if I even move to a master apprentice or a master electrician, I will be making more than most mid-level and some high-level white-collar workers. Because what people don't understand, yes, most electricians, most plumbers, right out of their trade, right out of their certification, they're making anywhere from 40 to 50 grand. But 1 to 2, 3 years after, depending on how they scale their own business and or the companies that they're working for, they're easily anywhere from 80 grand to 150,000 a year. And granted, some of you don't want to work those jobs because it has to deal with your hand. You rather deal with your mind. You rather type up a report. You rather do the statistics for this quarterly budget. You rather do Excel spreadsheet and Microsoft Office-based products. You may want to go into Raspberry software programs, Linux, Python, so on and so forth, and do these algorithms and build computer programming. Yeah. If you a white collar, that doesn't automatically associate yourself with IT. There's a bunch of white collar jobs where people just walking around in suits. Like, what does he do? Oh, he's human resources. Okay, guess what? If you don't have a human resources degree, if you're not head of human resources, 9 times out of 10, you're not making 6 figures. You can be in human resource all you want, and you're only probably still making anywhere from 50 to 80 grand. So the whole narrative that, oh, he has a white collar job or she has a white collar job, so I know he or she is making 6 figures, that is unnecessarily true. That is a farce, that is a fable, that is a tale. Okay? Now we understand some of the factors, some of the risk factors when it comes to blue collar versus white collar jobs. Most blue collar jobs, as we know them to be, they're hard on your bodies. You're always in the elements. You're always working using your muscles. So there's a deterioration factor, but there's risk factors of being in a suit and white collar all day, where you're sitting on your behind, not working out. Most white collar workers are in better shape. Excuse me. Most blue collar workers, that's hard to say. I don't want to stretch that too far. I can't really say most blue collar workers are in shape versus white collar workers, because I've seen a lot of unhealthy blue collar workers, but they still working their butt off. And I've seen the same when it comes to white collar, but it's a difference as in health and in shape. But we know that blue collar workers, they work extremely hard depending on the task at hand. Okay. We got Wyatt Hunter here. He says, I make a 20-hour and work for 10 days working for a tree company that contracts through power companies to clear right away. It's been about 19 years. That is what Wyatt Hunter is saying. So he's telling you right off the back, he's making decent money. He's making decent money working for blue collar. And some of you may look at some blue collar jobs. You may look down at those particular jobs, but essentially, let's look at some of the white collar jobs. So the white collar jobs, information technology manager, that makes good money. Clerk or assistant. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Depending on your state, a clerk or an assistant or a secretary, you're making anywhere from 35 to 50 grand. Not too many secretaries make over 65 grand, because most secretaries, depending on the offices you work at, do not have a bachelor's degree. You may have an associate's degree. You may have a certification of some sort, but most clerks and or assistants, well, let me take that back, because assistant can be assistant of anything, assistant VP, assistant manager. But when I mean assistant, I'm talking about those low-level assistant jobs. Most of them don't have degrees, let alone certification, and most of them don't make over 50 grand, and definitely not over 65 grand. That's just the numbers. So you make anywhere from 35 to 50 grand to keep it at a healthy ratio. Then you have your administrators. See, some people look at the word administrator as a high-level paying job. Let me tell you right now, your title position, the name of your position, does not equate to the amount of money that you're making. Does not equate to the state, the sector, the industry that you're actually operating and working in. Does not mean you're making great money. Does not mean it. Criminal investigator, depends on where you are. That's another white collar job. General attorney, human resources manager, as I said before, engineer. Some people will even look at nurses and doctors at white collar jobs. But when I really think about nurses, can I be real? When I really think about nurses who are in the hospitals, who are in the clinic, who are always on their feet, they're blue collar to me, while doctors are white collar. Because the only time, in my opinion, that a doctor actually uses his physical attributes is when he's in long surgeries. Like, oh, this surgery is going to be 4 hours, because that's essentially muscle fatigue and mind fatigue, right? Because he's using his intelligence and his hands for a very long time. So essentially, doctors are white collar. In my opinion, nurses are blue collar, because nurses are working hard. They're always doing all these different things throughout the hospital, administering medicine, lifting people up, helping people to the bathroom. That's blue collar. They're working their butt off. They're on their feet, depending on their shift, 10, 12, 14 hours a day. So, you can take that with a grain of salt. And then engineers, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, engineers are considered white collar. engineers are considered white collar, especially if you are an infrastructural engineer, because you're just like an architect. You're just drawing some stuff up like, hey, construction workers, here you go. He gives it to the blue collar worker. He's like, not my job. But when we look into some of the common base blue collar jobs that are not attractive that we will want them to be, okay? Good morning, Liz Thompson. When we're looking at those blue collar jobs, a custodian, as we knew them in high school, a maintenance man. Nobody in their right mind, this is my opinion and my perspective, wants to be a maintenance man or custodian at any level of a school. Not in elementary, not in middle school, not in junior high, not in high school. No. Because first and foremost, whether you be a custodian who is working while the kids are in class or after or before, ladies and gentlemen, you know your own kids. You know that you wouldn't want to be a custodian, that hundreds of kids are coming to this school and the custodian has to come out. Someone threw up, spilt the juice, especially in the cafeteria. Guess who cleaning that stuff up? The custodian. Who wants that job? Nobody. Okay. Unless you're like, I don't mind cleaning up. Okay. Don't want that job. Mechanics are blue collar job. And let me tell you, the next door neighbor of mine is an Audi mechanic. He get paid bank. Okay. He's in charge of his own team. His company is a subcontracting company that falls under Audi. And with that, he's making at least six figures. Okay. He's about to move to another home that him and his wife and his kids are paying for. His wife, I believe, works part-time, but essentially he's making great money with his hands. He is still under the car. He's the leader of the team, but he's still under the car, working with his hand, making six figures, and they're about to buy a home that is, I don't know how long away is that part of Texas, but the house is going to cost $589,000. Tell me what mechanic makes six figures and can afford a home that's $589. See, so there are some areas, there are some realms, there are some sectors that you might not know of in the mechanic realm that these guys, especially those ASE certified mechanics, and they're working for Audi, BMW, Mercedes, Maserati, Ferrari, Lamborghini. Let me tell you, you're working on those supercars like the McLarens and the the Maybachs and all of those, six figures out the door. Six figures out the door. What about your food service workers? Lord have mercy on their souls. We either be a food service worker at a cafeteria, at a shelter, at a school, at a department building that offers food underneath. You know what I'm talking about. Those jobs, they are literally cooking all day. Think about this. You're on your feet, dealing in the hot steam and food, and you got to come out and deal with people. Excuse me, was this made with salt? Was this made with sugar? I'm gluten resistant. You know what I'm talking about. Food service workers in that particular industry, ladies and gentlemen, they probably have it worse than anybody else. Let's just talk about it. Food service workers, I take my head off to you because you guys have it probably worse than anybody else. You're on your feet all day. You're cooking all day. You're taking people's crap all day. And people will ask you the dumbest question. They see mac and cheese. They say, does that mac and cheese contain dairy? Nah, it's plant-based. Go ahead and try it out. Oh my God, I had the runs. You sure that was non-dairy? Ma'am, did you see it say plant-based? Did you see it say vegan? No, we use cheese from the cow. I mean, these people ask the dumbest questions because I'm in line trying to get my food. Like, I'm just going to eat it. Like, I know you want to know what's going in your food, but these people who are cooking the food, they don't know. They're going to buy a recipe, put a little salt, a little pepper, a little hot salt, a little pasta sauce, onions. Okay, cool. There it is. What is this? Oh, it's tuna casserole. Does it have any, mercury from the fish in there? You'd be like this. Oh, no, it's mercury free. Oh, okay. Yeah, these fish are from the organic ocean. So it has no mercury. Get out of here. Get out of here. What else? We talked about electrician. We talked about plumbers. What about a painter? A painter is considered a blue collar job. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why you guys, once you paint it yourself, remember I'll paint it myself. And once you did that, you realize, there is quite a bit of skill that goes into painting, especially when you're trying to cut in to the ceiling. That means get real close to the ceiling so you don't bleed over. But let me ask you this. When you first started painting, you ever took a roller brush and you was rolling and you hit the ceiling? You was like, God damn, I didn't put all that paint on the ceiling. That's what occurs, right? But they come in with little paint brushes, and some of them got their own little different ways they go about it, and then all the prepping. See, the painting part is the easiest part. The skill part, in my opinion, is the prepping and the cut in. The cut into when you get, so I can roll a wall all day. That's easy. But cutting in and masking and prepping, nah, that takes too much work. Then another blue collar job that, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, that is in every facet of America in any industry are welders. Anything that's being welded together. I mean, I can't possibly name all the things that gets welded, but just think anything with metal and iron and all sorts of steel. Our welders do all of that. Like I'm looking at a water tower. Half of that water tower is welded together because they essentially made pieces of the water tower, and then a welder had to come in and weld it and make sure there's no air or water holes. Like essentially, okay, because if water can get through, then air can get through. If air can get through, then water can get through. That's kind of the synopsis. So these things are airtight, but that takes a certain skill. These people, some of these blue collar jobs get paid more than white collar jobs. And there's a misconception of this. Let me see what you guys are saying. I see we got Miss One in here today. Say welders blue collar budget get triple the amount. Thank you, Miss Curly Girl. You are absolutely correct. I discovered that welders get paid good money. I mean, here's another thing that people don't understand. Underwater welders. No, for real. That's an actual occupation. It has one of the highest risk level. I knew a buddy who was getting out the military, and he went to school for underwater welder. And I'm like, I don't want to do that job. Let me see something very quickly. I'm going to Google real quick, underwater welders. Underwater welding pay. That's what I'm going to look at. Salary. That's going to look at. So let me tell you this. For these underwater welders, you know what? I'm going to share my screen with you guys because you guys need to see this. You need to see this as well. You need to see this as well. Okay. So here we go. Let me see them blow this up. Let me see. There we go. There we go. Okay. So you're looking right here. These guys who are in welding suits, got a wetsuit on, got gloves, all this stuff, and probably have some sort of eye protection because the highlight of the welding. But these are a lot of your pipes, a lot of your things, you know, all around the world is underground. Like in my neighborhood, all of my electrical wiring and tubes are underground. The sewage underground. So a lot of these guys are risking their lives to upkeep the infrastructure. There's not a lot of women in these jobs. Women don't want to put on a wetsuit, then go underwater and go welding. Women don't want to put on a hazmat suit, go on to the sewer and see what's clogged. These are really nasty, dirty, risky, life-threatening jobs. And look how much these guys are making. $53,000 to risk their life. But then it says, however, most incomes float around 80 grand, 25 to 80 grand, okay, depending on the risk factors. Diver welders in the top 10% make 80 grand, while the bottom 10 puts in around 30 grand. So again, it just depends on what field that you're in. It says, what is the highest paying welding job? It says, though these welders are usually stationed at camps, their jobs can be a risky one. The top paying welding jobs include pipe welders, underwater welders, military welders, nuclear welders, aeronautic welding, and welding inspectors. Texas has the highest level of employment than any other state. Again, the great state of Texas is what they say, right? But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, This is just a small synopsis, okay? This is a small synopsis of essentially blue collar versus white collar, but don't be fooled that all blue collar workers don't get paid good money. And I was looking at, I know a lot of you guys are familiar with Kevin Samuels, and I was looking at one of his broadcasts, and I was just like, wait a minute, are people that naive? And essentially men and women, but majority women, when you see a guy in a hard hat, in a jumpsuit, you're automatically thinking that he's not a high earner. But you see the brother in a suit, tie, looking crisp, looking clean, got his Tom Ford on, not Tom Ford, okay, because I'm looking at how much a Tom Ford suit costs, like 10 grand. So I'm just gonna say Tom Forge, like a forgery of Tom Ford suits. No, I'm not cute. Okay, cool. Got it. So with that being said, wearing your Tom Ford suits, okay, and you're patting down level Stacey Adams shoes, you thinking, oh, that dude coming out the BMW. No, he only making 65, while the dude with the pickup truck with the hard hat and the overalls is making 110 grand. Getting under your sink, charging you like, wow, it costs that much, $300. Well, ma'am, you have to take into that if I do this wrong, the water can burst and this can pipe and the water's everywhere. Or, ma'am, if I cross the wire just the wrong way, your whole entire junction box, your power box will blow and may cause electrical fire. So, you know, these things, these skill jobs actually pay and actually cost a lot of money. Okay, so let's think about it. Blue collar workers typically perform manual labor, while white collar workers don't do anything. I'm kidding. I take it back. White collar workers do work. They just do primarily administrative work, meaning they just email all day. I mean, no, I take that back. I mean, they click buttons all day. No, they don't do that. They deal and operate in PowerPoint and Excel. That's all they do. No, they do more than that. They sit in meetings half the day and just talk about something they already knew they was going to do. No, that's not. No, you know what? They do all of it. Okay, we got it. Blue collar workers are often paid lower wages based on hours worked or projects completed. So blue collar workers, especially if you work for yourself, your paycheck, your salary is dependent upon how much and how long you work. Where white collar workers are usually paid salary based and sometimes on their overall performance in that position. That's what we have to look at here, because we understand that in the past, blue collar workers were less educated than white collar workers. So there was a huge salary, a huge income discrepancy between the two, a huge gap. But today, many skilled blue collar workers benefit because they're going to school. I like working with my hands. So as we're looking at these two lines, and we understand that the lines between the two fields are often blurred, especially in today's economy, and simply meaning that the definition of blue and white collar jobs are often generalizations rather than hard and fast rules. That is me. That's where I'm at. So ladies and gentlemen, please do not judge people based upon their industry and or their collar. We either be white, blue, and as I mentioned earlier, red collar workers are essentially government workers. And we know a lot of government workers don't get paid nothing. I mean, I know government workers who get paid 40 grand, where the guy that's under your seat getting paid 85 grand. And ladies, very, very, very little here. If you are looking for a high-paying man, right? The guy in the suit, more times than not, he's a mid-level worker. More times than not, the guy in the suit that's looking good, jumping out the Mercedes or BMW, he's making anywhere from around 65 to 85 grand, while the guy that's in your wall, fixing your electricity, the guy that's welding something together that you broke, the guy who's fixing your plumbing, the gas worker that came out to fix your gas pipes, the guy who's bricklaying your house. They getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes. I'm just letting you know. Miss Curly Girl says even sanitation workers get paid good money. Let's see here. Miss One says metal work is work. IT is very important. Okay. I don't know what you mean by that. Now let me ask you this. Miss One, goes directly out to you. A lot of people, if you're new here, you know that I talk directly to my subscribers, but I'm not calling nobody out. Let's think about it like this, Miss One. What job is more important to sustain life? We can make a large argument between metalwork and IT. But when it comes to the three basic essentials of life, shelter, food, and water, would you want a guy who knows how to do metalwork or a guy who knows how to do IT? And we're talking about the three essentials of life to sustain life. Food, okay? Food, shelter, and water. And I know you're probably thinking, well, you get an IT guy, he can build a system to essentially, who's going to build the shell for the system to go into? See, what people don't understand, even in computers, even a laptop that I'm using, there's a blue collar worker making the shell of the computer. So before you even get to the technology, you got to have those blue collar workers in those factories, in those factory line jobs that is making the computer before all the computer chips, the software, all of that goes into. So who's more important? Oh, mental, not metal. My bad. I went a whole spat and I'm totally wrong. Mental work is work. IT is very important. Okay, got it. My bad. That's on me. Let's see. Sherlock said, you can't ignore the age we are living in. You can't. You can't. The industry, the market is essentially calling for more IT workers. But ladies and gentlemen, let's be real. Let's be real. An IT job can come and go, but we will always need construction workers. We will always need plumbers. We will always need electricians until technology is so advanced, we will be dead. We will be dead and gone. And most likely our kids will be dead and gone until they get a robot to show up at your house. What is your electrical problem? It'd probably be a little better than that. Excuse me, sir. What is your electrical problem? Oh, okay. I will change out your light switch. I will use don't explain it, robot. Just do it. But see, robots they can't program robots to essentially take on essentially the problem that you're having and to explain it. You get what I'm trying to say? So that technology is 50 years in the future, where robots are going to be coming in doing residential jobs. And guess who build those robots? You're going to say IT people. No, blue collar people essentially are the ones who are making the metal shells, the metal arms. It's the IT people that come in with Cat 4 and Cat 5 cables and microchips and semiconductors. You're still going to need blue collar workers. Now in China, they're building these package homes, where they just come out, put the roof up, put the floor down. I mean, they're built out of meal vans, okay? Let's see here. Sturtle says, I wish I learned computers when I was younger. Okay. Let's see here. Ms. One says, AI is real and most mental jobs will be replaced by text. You're correct. Self-driving trucks will be taking some of the jobs soon, but I agree certain jobs will always require humans. I agree, because when we're talking about the age of IT and we're pushing our son into IT, into software, because ladies and gentlemen, we have to look at it. With all of these autonomous jobs and industries where cars are driving themselves, trucks are driving themselves. What's going to happen is this. Eventually, I don't know if I'll be around for this, but eventually they're going to program a semi-trailer, a semi-truck. It's going to have boxes of, let's say, cereal, right? That cereal is coming from Kellogg's to Walmart. It's coming from the manufacturer, the distribution center to Walmart, right? Kellogg's, all the Kellogg's brand is going to supply Walmart. That truck is going to autonomously back up to the dock, lower its gate, and then a robot that's going to be its own forklift. Because right now at Amazon, they have forklifts and they have these, I forgot what they call them. They're kind of like these robotic forklifts that drive around the warehouse. They're not forklifts though. I forgot what they call them. But they take storage items to one part of the warehouse to another part of the warehouse autonomously. There is someone behind a computer, that IT guy, who's saying, go to destination point A, okay? Go to destination point B. And so essentially that's what they're doing. And then I'm just going back to the Walmart scenario. He's going to pick them up, put them inside the warehouse, and then it may be robots who essentially with robotic arms put them on shelves. That's coming. We know that's coming, but that's 50 years. Well, that's a stretch. Technology is moving at a high, fast rate. Until we see that on a massive level, I'm thinking 25 to 30 years. I'm going to back off 50 years. 25 to 30 years, okay? But you're right. But there's jobs that require a human being. Let's take, for instance, psychology. Now, psychology is a white-collar job, not a blue-collar job, but psychology is a white-collar job. And if you're going to think you're going to talk to a robot who they're going to program all of your feelings and emotions and your issues, you're going to eventually get a robotic answer. Well, you know, I'm just trying to lose weight and I feel so depressed. And when I'm depressed, I eat. Oh, if you are depressed, then do not eat. So you will not gain weight. Problem solved. I mean, I know that's like 70s, 80s robots, but that's the point I'm getting at. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I know that, Miss Curly Girl. I know that Tesla has self-driving cars. Let's see. Shirtle says Amazon can do that, but a lot of companies can't afford that equipment. That's true. That's very true. But again, we're talking 25, 30 years, definitely. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? Technology will have to be highly advanced for robots to start building houses by themselves. You will always have mechanical assistance, but for robots to build water towers, sewer drains, office buildings, hospitals, and etc., and then robots to build other pieces of equipment and and do testing and quality assurance and all the different things that human beings do with devices. Let me just tell you, white collar, most white collar people are mid-level. They make anywhere between 45 to 85 grand. That's 45 to 85 grand. Where we know that blue collar workers, majority of them don't make that much, but there are a lot of blue collar workers who are 80 grand and above. So some of you who are sitting at your computer all day, you're saying, oh man, I'm tired of these damn meetings about nothing. I'm tired of working on these reports about nothing. Because you ever did a report? I know I have. You ever did a report and you sent the report out and they say, hey, next month we need the same report, and you change one number. You change the date of the report and no one knew the difference. Anybody? I know I have. I'm going to tell you, so the Army is a blended collar job. Literally. The Army is a blended collar job. The Army is red, white, and blue. One, the Army is red because it's a government job. So red collar job is a government job. So that's the military. Okay. Two, white collar, clerical, administrative. once you start heading up in your rank, whether you be enlisted or officer, you start getting to a white collar job where you're in the office all day on a computer doing all sorts of reports. Blue collar in the military are essentially those on the ground, those troops on the ground, no matter what service, doing all the heavy lifting and training and fighting and this, that, and the other. So the Army, the military, Army, Marines, Navy, and Air Force, they're essentially red, white, and blue. They're white collar, blue collar, and red collar jobs. So when you look at it, ladies and gentlemen, you're always going to have some sort of job where IT won't be able to take over in the IT field. And guess what? Some of us lacks the discipline to be in IT, but you will always have those mid-level white collar jobs who are just making 65 grand. They're making 65 grand. They bought themselves a house. Okay, the house is about 1,500 square feet. It's just them two or that one person. They drive a 5 Series BMW. And because they come out with a nice suit, the car looks nice, you think they make 100 grand. That's not always the case. Blue collar make good money too. But again, for you guys who just sipping coffee all day and your breath stink, your teeth are yellow, and you're tired of meetings, the only reason why you're drinking so much coffee is to stay awake in your meetings because the meetings are so darn boring. Oh, here we go again. God damn it. Those reports, I emailed those last week, boss. Okay, you good down there? Oh yeah, had a late night. I did all those reports. I was up binge watching my show. I mean, come on. We know that majority of mid-level white-collar jobs, right? We know meetings and emails is primarily 40 to 50% of your day. The other time is you getting up. If you don't have a printer or copier by your desk, because your boss is probably old school, like, yeah, I like the email, but I want a paper copy. I want a paper copy. I know a lot of you got boss. I want a paper copy. I'm just saying, blue collar may be where you want to be at. Red collar don't pay as much as people think. Working for the government, the only thing people that you'll find out about working for the government is that it's hard to get fired from the government. It's hard. White collar, administrative. If you start making to a high tier of white collar, that is when you start getting paid really, really good money. We're talking about 110, 120, 200, 300, 400, depending on what business you work for. Let's see here. Red collar is probably the better way to go. Not too many jobs out there have guaranteed pensions. You're right. And that's why I say red collar, it's hard to get fired. They got guaranteed pensions, so on and so forth. Shirt on, let's see here. He says, I wonder if people are going to protest against machines taking their jobs. No need to protest. It's going to happen. Machines are eventually going to take a lot of jobs away. There's no protesting. Okay? They're going to fight for the government. Hey, Amazon laid off 100,000 people because they replaced them with robots. The government like, they're still paying their taxes. Oh, that's right. Amazon don't pay no taxes because they always follow the laws. I digress. That's another video. I'm gonna stop. Let's see here. Miss One says red collar is probably the better way to go. Not too many jobs out there having guaranteed pensions. Plus, you can actually retire after a certain number of years. That is correct. Miss Curly Girl says, me run reports all month long. And she also says, I was a red collar worker for 11 years. Field talks are a blend of both worlds. They are hands-on, but they still need tech skills. You are absolutely correct. And that is the point where essentially robots, advanced technology can't come in the next 10 years and take over. Because that service tech, that field tech has to facilitate essentially what he's doing on a job, what he did on a job, and why he did it on a job. So when AT&T came out and I say, hey, I want 2 networks. I just don't want the 2.4. I want the 2.4, the 5. Then I want you to split the 2.4 to 2 different networks because I want a smart house. And then we do a lot of things on the internet. So he has to like, oh, okay, well, I got to do this and I got to program this. And I got to call back the service tech at the AT&T headquarters. I got to do this and I got to put this hardware in there and do this. Robots are not doing none of that. Robots are not doing that. The most you'll see is with Boston Robotics is doing. They got the computer dog with the cameras on it, but they're remote controlling it. Okay? Because we're still essentially scared of AI. We're scared of artificial intelligence because essentially the movies make us scared, where artificial intelligence is going to take over. Think about it like this. Anybody ever seen the whole series of The Matrix? I just watched it again because I want to see some of the details. Basically, The Matrix is telling you that artificial intelligence have taken over and built a AI world, a software programming world where they essentially need human beings to power it. So they're essentially using cloning to clone people to generate power for the Matrix. And some people in the Matrix come to find out they have, oh, wait a minute, I don't think this is real. And then they take the red or blue pill, and then they meet Morpheus, and then they fight the computers, and then the computer, Mr. Smith, is fighting against his own software programming. And then Neo makes a deal with the AI outside of the Matrix that they can get rid of this virus. They can get rid of this virus, Mr. Smith, as long as you have peace with the human beings who know that they was in the Matrix and now they live in a regular life outside of the Matrix. So essentially, in some instances, we're still scared of artificial intelligence. Whether it be iRobot with Will Smith or the Matrix with Keanu Reeves. We're not going to let AI take over. We're going to have a lot of fail-safes. We're going to have a lot of back doors. So I don't see technology moving that fast when it comes to AI coming in your house, putting in Wi-Fi. I don't see it. Let's see here. Ms. One says AI globalization has changed the retailers for us in just one generation. That's correct. Our work landscape is nothing like our parents. True. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end. I see my Wi-Fi is shading me. It's fading away. But nonetheless, I do thank you. Please like, share, subscribe if you have not already done so. I would like to thank Ms. Curly Girl for your input as well as your moderation and all of my subscribers here today. This is Financial Literacy 101. Learn money and be inspired, guys. I'm not on my regular schedule. I'm not in my regular office because, again, in Texas, we're having rolling blackouts. We're going through a winter storm warning. So the temperatures are frigid. They're like 20 degrees and below. Just a day ago was a -2 during the evening. And also we're having rolling blackouts to save the electricity, I guess, in the areas and help other areas out. So I will be on periodically off my regular schedule, but nonetheless, I'm still trying to produce the content and give you the information that you want to hear. Guys, you have a great and wonderful day. I'm out.